All right, what is up, fantasy fans? As always, I'm Shay from the channel Zachary Shay, and this is episode 2 of Getting Graphic. I am usually a book reviewer, but I have been trying to do more comic reviews, and this is part of a series where I talk about different graphic novels that if you are not well versed in the comics history, these are good stories where you can pick up and go. And today I'm going to talk about Tom King's The Human Target. It's a DC Black Label Comics. This is an imprint where DC Comics tells more adult-oriented stories with DC characters. Usually there's a few under the published under the DC Black imprint that are like their own continuity, but this follows DC characters. You get the character of Christopher Chance, who is the Human Target. He basically takes on jobs where he is basically expected to take the bullet for other people. And where this story begins, he takes on a job for one Lex Luthor. And through, I'm going to say spoilers vague here, but when the story picks up, we find Christopher Chance on this 12th day. We see it marked on his calendar, day 12, the final day. And he says he lays down to die. And then we get flashback to day 1 where he gets poisoned while he is impersonating Lex Luthor. So he has 12 days to find out who killed him or who sought to kill Lex Luthor and actually killed him. He knows that there's no cure for this, and he knows that it is one of the members of the Justice League International team. Now, if you're not familiar with Justice League International, you don't really need to be. Don't be, oh, it's a DC book. It's very much a noir mystery in line with Memento by Christopher Nolan or a James Bond film. Though Christopher Chance, to me, I like him more than James Bond personally. And that has to do with his loyalty to his woman, or the woman that takes center stage in this book, Ice. The relationship between Christopher Chance and Ice is remarkable. I tell people all the time Tom King's my favorite writer, and he really does tackle mental health in an excellent way in almost all of his works. But what is just as ubiquitous with the name Tom King as, you know, his amazing examination of mental health is his remarkable relationship writing, specifically romantic relationships. He is very good at this. He brought new depth to Batman and Catwoman. He further cemented the amazing relationship between Scott Free and Big Barda in Mr. Miracle. And in this, he gives us the relationship, the romance of Christopher Chance and Ice. And I usually am not one for insta love. So when I'm like, okay, so he's going to fall in love with this girl in 12 days and you expect me to believe it. And man, were my socks blown all the way off. This story is one of the best love stories I have ever read. It's one of the best comics I have ever read, which I could say for pretty much all Tom King works, but this is probably my favorite comic of the year. In trying to discover who poisoned him, who poisoned Lex Luthor, he gets the help of Ice, one of the members of JLI, one of the suspects, and she helps him look at the other members of the Justice League International. There's her ex-boyfriend Guy Gardner, who is very territorial of Ice. There's Fire, who's Ice's best friend and who is known for having a little bit of a violent, vindictive streak. There's Martian Manhunter, who tries to get into Chance's mind. And you see each issue, he kind of tackles a different member of the JLI, and it feels episodic, but in the best way possible. And every single issue highlights that relationship between Christopher Chance, the Human Target, and Ice, member of the JLI. It is beautiful. It is heartbreaking. It is melancholic. It is romantic. It is, without a doubt, one of my favorite comics I've ever read. And it's not recency bias. I've learned this with Tom King. I'm always like, is Strange Adventures my new favorite comic, or is this just recency bias? It's not. I would put this is probably my third favorite Tom King book that I've read. 1 being Mr. Miracle, 2 being Strange Adventure. I don't know. This gives Strange Adventure a run for its money. Going back to the premise of Getting Graphic, this graphic novel does work remarkably well on its own. It's 12-issue maxi series. It doesn't really occur within the DC continuity. There's some stuff that happens towards the end where I'm like, okay, this isn't canon. But it does use it does use different characters from DC continuity. It uses them so incredibly well. It doesn't require you to have knowledge of, I didn't know who Ice was before this book, I'll be honest. The only characters I really had any sort of knowledge of were Martian Manhunter, because I watched Justice League as a kid, and Guy Gardner, because he's Guy Gardner. Everybody knows who Guy Gardner is. But I didn't know who Christopher Chance was. I didn't know who Ice and Fire were. I knew who Lex Luthor was. But there's many characters that Tom King implements throughout this story that I really didn't have a ton of knowledge prior to starting, and it works so well. If you love noir stories, if you love James Bond, but a little bit more of a loyal man. You won't see him going from girl to girl to girl, but he is suave, he's smooth, he's composed. There's even a fun issue where he's afraid that Batman's coming for him, and you see that composure crack just a little bit, but he is calm, he's composed, he's intelligent, he's able to improvise, he's able to get into the heads of these different people. His whole thing is that he's the human target. He's a master of disguise, he's a master of impersonation. And oh man, this took a premise that I did not think would be my cup of tea and completely blew it out of the water. And just because I love it so much, I'm going to go into spoilers. So if you have not read The Human Target, 3, 2, 1, get out of here. So yeah, that ending definitely impacted me quite a bit. I expected for him to live somehow, I expected, Ice to be sort of melancholic after that 12th day and to go about her life, and then she'll see him at a cafe and, or somebody takes their face off and it's Christopher Chance. Like, if you've seen the Dark Knight Rises movie where, like, even though it was impossible for Batman to get away from that blast, we see him at the end of the movie and he's in the cafe and he says, "What's up?" to Alfred, and he's with Selena Kyle. Dark Knight Rises, spoiler, but I'm pretty sure anyone who's stuck around to this point has seen that movie. I was expecting something like that and I didn't get that. And there's a little bit of satisfaction in the revenge taken against Lex Luthor. But I think we know, just as Ice knows, that this revenge, this original act of violence that led to Chance being poisoned, doesn't take away the loss of it. I think if Ice could choose between never killing Lex Luthor but Chance is still alive versus what actually happened, she would take Lex Luthor living over Christopher Chance dying. And oh man, it was so heartbreaking when she put the gun in his hand and told him to kill her. And he was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" That's not what's it. It was so heartbreaking seeing Ice's reaction. And in that final issue, it very much felt like, the final 2 issues really, it felt like we were more in Ice's shoes. Once we got that reveal that she was the killer, you then see her come to terms with what she's done. One moment from the comic that I thought was brilliant was, I think it was, I want to say issue 6 or 7, where it opens up and she finds Christopher Chance dead in bed next to her, and then she resuscitates him, and you see the tears going down her face, and there's no dialogue, there's no exposition, no word bubbles, nothing. That was really, really, really well done, and just highlights Greg Smallwood's phenomenal art. I shouldn't have waited till the spoilery section to mention this, but Greg Smallwood's art is fantastic. He is a new artist to check out for me. I will admit, it was Tom King's name on this book that made me pick it up, but Greg Smallwood is now one of those names that I'm going to be on the lookout for. And amazing book. If you've lasted this far, if you've gotten to this point, if you've already read Human Target and you're here for the spoilery chat, let me know down below what you thought of it, or if you just don't really care for spoilers and you watched till the end. Let me know if you want to check out Human Target, and peace.